My precious one, come close and quiet your spirit. I want to speak to you about a system so beautiful, so counterintuitive, and so fundamentally true that it will unravel every knot of anxiety in your heart about provision. You live in a world that operates on an economy of scarcity. Its language is, there is not enough. Hold tightly. Protect what is yours. More for you is less for me. This system breeds fear, competition, isolation, and a deep-seated worry that you will run out, be overlooked, or be left wanting. Your soul feels the pressure of this system every day, but today, I invite you to step through the veil and understand the economy of my kingdom, the divine economy. Its foundational principle is not scarcity, but abundance. Its core truth is not hold tightly, but give freely. Its currency is not paper or gold, but faith, love, and obedience, expressed through the tangible and intangible gifts of your life. In my economy, generosity is not an occasional charitable act. It is the very mechanism of circulation, the spiritual law of increase, and the heartbeat of heaven. Look at the world I created. Does the sun charge the earth for its light? Does the cloud negotiate with the field for its rain? Does the tree consume its own fruit? No. They give. Freely, lavishly, consistently. And in that giving, they participate in a cycle of life that sustains all things. The sun gives light and is not diminished. The cloud gives rain and is replenished from the sea. The tree gives fruit and is made more fruitful. This is a picture of my nature. I am a giving God. For God so loved the world that he gave. Giving is my identity. Therefore, as my child, fashioned in my image, giving is to be your identity too. It is how you align yourself with the fundamental rhythm of creation and the heart of your Father. In the world's economy, if you have a loaf of bread and give half away, you are left with half a loaf. Logic confirms this. But in my divine economy, a different mathematics takes over, the mathematics of faith. When you give from that loaf in obedience and love, you are not just transferring bread, you are planting a seed. And a seed follows a different law. It is not subtracted, it is multiplied. The half loaf you gave is not lost, it is sown. And what you sow, you will reap in some form at the right time, in a measure pressed down, shaken together, and running over. This is why I can say with absolute certainty, give, and it will be given to you. It is not a reward for good behavior. It is a law of the Spirit, as reliable as the law of gravity in the physical realm. When you give, you activate the circuitry of my kingdom. You open an account in the heavenly realm. You declare, I am not governed by the fear of scarcity. I am a citizen of my Father's abundant kingdom, and I trust him to provide. This act of faith moves my heart and mobilizes the resources of heaven on your behalf. Your security, my child, must never be in the bread you hold in your hand, but in my hand that holds you. The hand that fed 5,000 with a boy's lunch. The hand that sustained Elijah by ravens. The hand that made manna fall from the sky. When your security is in me, you can open your own hand freely. You are no longer a desperate owner, clinging to possessions for survival. You are a trusted steward, managing my resources with a generous heart, knowing the storehouse is inexhaustible. This shift in thinking, from scarcity to abundance, from owner to steward, is the first and greatest victory. It transfers the burden of provision from your shoulders to mine. Your part is to be faithful, generous, and obedient with what I place in your hand. My part is to ensure that as you pour out, you are poured into, so that you will always have enough, enough for your needs, and enough to continue giving into the needs of others. Do not look at your current resources and calculate according to the world's math. That math will always lead to fear. Instead, look at me, your provider. See my nature. I am El Shaddai, the God who is more than enough. My economy runs on the fuel of faith-filled generosity. When you give, you are not becoming poorer. You are investing in the economy of heaven, where the dividends are peace, joy, divine provision, and a heart that mirrors mine. Today, I ask you to consciously renounce the spirit of scarcity. Breathe out its anxiety, and breathe in the truth of my abundant nature. You are not a subject of a failing earthly system. You are a beloved child in the palace of a king, whose wealth and generosity know no end. Start thinking like it. Start living like it. The cycle begins with a change of mind and heart. Welcome to the divine economy. My precious one, we have stepped into the reality of my abundant economy. Now let us kneel together in the soft soil of the heart. For in my kingdom, the external act of giving is always preceded and defined by an internal reality. The gift itself is like a seed you hold in your palm. But the heart from which you release it is the genetic code within that seed. It determines everything about the harvest that will one day spring forth, its quality, its quantity, its flavor, and its very nature. A seed sown from love cannot produce a harvest of bitterness. A seed sown from manipulation cannot yield a crop of pure blessing. The heart of the giver sanctifies or nullifies the gift. You see, I do not merely audit your accounts. I commune with your spirit. I am not a vending machine where you insert the coin of a good deed to receive a packaged blessing. I am your Father, and I look past the hand that gives to the heart that motivates. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. When you bring your offering, your act of service, your words of encouragement, I first receive you, your inner posture, your secret intentions, the silent prayer or complaint of your soul. Let us examine the different seeds, the various conditions of the heart from which giving can flow. There is the seed of love. This seed is sown from a heart that has first received and been overwhelmed by my love. It gives because it is simply too full to contain the affection it feels, for me and for my children. It gives spontaneously, joyfully, without calculation. It is the seed of the widow's mite, sown not from her surplus, but from her surrender. It is the seed of the alabaster jar, broken and poured out in wasteful, beautiful devotion. When you sow this seed, the harvest is a deeper capacity for love, a profound joy in communion, and a heart that feels ever closer to my own. The return may not always be financial. It is often the spiritual currency of intimacy and unspeakable joy. There is the seed of faith. This seed is sown not from a surplus of emotion, but from a stubborn conviction in my word. Your bank account may argue scarcity. Your circumstances may scream impossibility. But you choose to give because I have said, give, and it will be given to you. You sow this seed as an act of spiritual warfare against the fear of lack. You are declaring, I trust your economy more than my eyes. This seed is powerful. It moves mountains of doubt and calls forth miracles from the unseen realm. Its harvest is often tangible provision, open doors, and a faith that has been tried and proven true, a faith more precious than gold. There is the seed of obedience. This seed is sown from a will that has been surrendered. You may not feel particularly loving or faith-filled in the moment. You may feel tired, routine, or even reluctant. But you remember my command. You feel the gentle nudge of my spirit, and you choose to obey. Lord, I don't feel like it, but because you said so, I will. This seed, sown through the tears of a surrendered will, is incredibly precious to me. It is the substance of true discipleship. Its harvest is character, steadfastness, integrity, and a will that becomes more aligned with mine. It yields the quiet confidence that you are walking in my ways, regardless of fleeting emotions. But now, my child, we must also gently acknowledge the seeds that carry a corrupted code, seeds that may sprout, but will never bear the wholesome fruit of my kingdom. There is the seed of manipulation. This seed is sown with a string attached. It gives to get. It gives to control a response, to incur obligation, to secure a specific return. It is giving as a transaction, not a translation of love. This seed may indeed produce a kind of return. People may feel indebted. Circumstances may temporarily shift. But the harvest will be tainted with the flavor of control, disappointment, and relational exhaustion. It does not connect you to the cycle of my grace, but to the exhausting treadmill of human barter. There is the seed of pride. This seed is sown to be seen. Its primary audience is not me, but the eyes of others. It seeks the applause of the crowd, the title of generous, the enhancement of reputation. Jesus called this, having received their reward in full. The harvest of this seed is public recognition, and that is all it will ever be. The heavenly account remains untouched, for the reward was consumed in the moment of human praise. There is the seed of obligation and guilt. This seed is sown from a place of heaviness, of I should, or I must, or God will be displeased. It is giving as a duty, a tax paid to a distant deity. It carries no joy, no love, no faith. It is a dead seed. While the act itself may still benefit another, it yields no spiritual harvest in the giver's life, only a heavier burden of religious performance. My beloved, why do I show you this? Not to paralyze you with introspection, but to invite you into freedom. Bring your mixed motives to me. My light is not harsh, it is healing. Simply pray, Lord, search my heart, purify my motives. Let my giving flow from love, faith, and obedience, and cleanse it from manipulation, pride, and duty. Cultivate the right heart by staying at the source. You cannot give pure love if you are not receiving my love daily. You cannot give in faith if you are not immersed in my word. You cannot give in obedience if you are not familiar with the sound of my voice. The cycle begins with you receiving from me. Let my love fill you until it overflows. Let my faithfulness bolster your faith. Let my will shape your obedience. Then, when you give with a smile in your spirit. Give as an act of worship. Give as a love letter to me. Give as a declaration of trust. Don't give to get. Give because you already have. You have me, my love, my promise, my eternal life. From that place of secure abundance, sowing good seed becomes the most natural thing in the world. Remember, the harvest always reveals the seed. Sow love, and you will reap a life surrounded by love. Sow faith, and you will reap a future built on miracles. Sow generosity from a pure heart, and you will step into a cycle of blessing that transcends understanding. Today, tend to the garden of your heart, for from it are the issues and the seeds of life. My beloved child, now we come to the unshakable bedrock of the cycle, the fixed law upon which all of creation and my kingdom operates. It is a law as reliable as sunrise, as predictable as the tides, yet so often misunderstood or feared. This is the law of sowing and reaping. It is not a suggestion, not a motivational principle, but a spiritual certainty woven into the fabric of reality by my own hand. To understand it is to hold the key to peace in every season of your life. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. These words are not a threat. They are a loving revelation of the consistent, trustworthy system I have established. Just as I set gravity to govern the physical world, I set this law to govern the spiritual and moral universe. It ensures that choices have consequences, that faithfulness yields fruit, and that love, in time, begets love. It is the mechanism that makes my divine economy just, predictable, and full of hope. Let me unfold this law for you in its beautiful, multifaceted truth. First, it is a law of correspondence. You will always reap in kind with what you have sown. Sow tomato seeds, reap tomatoes. Sow kernels of corn, reap ears of corn. This is true in every realm. Sow seeds of kindness, and you will reap a harvest of kindness, though it may come from unexpected hands. Sow seeds of criticism and judgment, and you will find yourself surrounded by a critical spirit. Sow seeds of generosity, and you will reap a harvest of provision. The harvest mirrors the seed. You cannot sow thistles and expect roses. This is why guarding your heart and your daily actions is of paramount importance. You are, in every moment, planting the future you will inhabit. Second, it is a law of multiplication. One seed, when sown, does not produce one seed in return. It yields a whole plant, bearing many seeds. The return is always greater than the initial offering. This is my principle of increase. A single act of forgiveness can dismantle a mountain of bitterness. A small financial seed given in faith can break the spirit of poverty over a family line. A word of encouragement sown into a weary soul can blossom into a lifetime of renewed purpose. Do not despise the smallness of your seed. In my hands, under the nurture of my spirit, it contains a multiplicative potential you cannot fathom. You are not just giving. You are investing in a harvest that will far exceed your initial outlay. Third, it is a law of process and patience. There is an inevitable and necessary gap between the sowing and the reaping. The seed must fall into the ground, die, and remain hidden for a season. This is the season of faith. It is the time between your obedience and the visible outcome. The world teaches you to expect instant results, but my kingdom operates on the rhythm of the harvest. This waiting period is not abandonment, it is incubation. It is where the seed's potential is activated by the hidden workings of the soil, the rain, and the sun, which represent my spirit, my word, and my timing. Impatience during this season can lead you to dig up the seed, to abandon faith, or to conclude the law has failed. But I assure you it has not. The harvest is assured to those who do not give up. Fourth, it is a law of proportional return. Remember this: whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously. The scale of your sowing influences the scale of your harvest. This is not about earning my favor through quantity. It is about the natural outworking of the law. A heart that sows generously is a heart that trusts me deeply. That trust opens the floodgates for a generous return. Conversely, a heart that sows sparingly, gripped by fear and lack, constricts the flow. Your sowing is a measure of your faith in my provision. I love a cheerful giver because a cheerful giver has understood my heart and trusts my economy completely. Fifth, and this is crucial, it is a law that transcends the immediate. You reap more than you sow, and you reap in different areas than you sow. A financial seed can yield a harvest of spiritual breakthrough. A seed of time spent in prayer can yield a harvest of relational healing. A seed of mercy shown can yield a harvest of divine protection. You are sowing in one field, but the harvest may appear in another. This is why you must trust me, the Lord of the harvest, to bring forth the increase in the form and the area that is most needed for your life and destiny. Your job is to sow good seed faithfully. My job is to orchestrate the harvest perfectly. This law is your great hope and your solemn responsibility. It means you are not a victim of random chance. Your future is, in significant part, shaped by the seeds you choose to plant today. You cannot control every circumstance, but you can control what you sow in the midst of them. So, what should you sow in this season? Sow good seed, despite the condition of the soil around you. Sow love where there is hatred. Sow peace where there is strife. Sow generosity where there is lack. Sow faith where there is fear. Do not let the hardness of another's heart or the barrenness of a situation determine what you plant. You are responsible for the seed, not the soil. I will take care of the soil. Look at your life right now. The circumstances you are reaping today are the harvest of seeds you planted months or years ago. If you see a harvest you do not like, Do not despair. The wonderful news is that you can start sowing new seeds today. You can change your future harvest by changing what you plant in the present. Begin with the soil of your own heart. Sow the seed of my word deep within. Water it with prayer and obedience. Then, let that internal harvest overflow into external sowing, into your relationships, your finances, your work, your community. The law of sowing and reaping is irrevocable. It is always working, for good or for ill. Let this truth steady you with hope and direct you with wisdom. Sow with intention. Sow with faith. Sow with joy. For the harvest is coming, and it will be a testament to my faithfulness and to the power of a life that trusts in the certainty of my ways. My precious one, we have spoken of the economy of heaven and the law of sowing and reaping. Now, I want to take you deeper into a principle that unlocks the very heart of that law, a principle that is less about mathematics and more about relationship. This is the first fruit principle. It is the sacred practice of giving first, giving best, and giving willingly, not from your leftovers, but from your very first and finest increase. It is the tangible way you declare, all I have comes from you, and my trust is in you, not in the harvest itself. From the dawn of human history, I established this principle. Abel brought fat portions from the firstborn of his flock. The Israelites were commanded to bring the first sheaf of the harvest, the firstborn of their flocks, the first of their dough. Why? Not because I needed their produce, but because their hearts needed to acknowledge the source of all provision. The first fruit offering was never about the size of the gift. It was about the posture of the giver. It was a declaration of priority, trust, and worship. Consider the profound meaning woven into this act. First, it is an act of prioritization. By giving the first and the best, you are saying, God, you are my first priority. Before I pay my bills, before I feed my family, before I invest in my future, I acknowledge that every good thing comes from your hand, and I honor you first. This act dethrones money, security, and self-sufficiency from the altar of your heart and reinstates me as Lord. It breaks the power of mammon. It declares that your life is not built on your ability to produce, but on my faithfulness to provide. Second, it is an act of trust. To take the very first of your income, the very first of your time, the very first of your energy, and offer it to me requires raw, practical faith. It feels risky to the natural mind. What if there isn't enough left for me? But that is exactly the point. You are demonstrating that your security does not lie in the 90% that remains, but in the 100% that belongs to me and which I lovingly entrust to you. You are acting out the truth of the verse. Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing. The overflowing barn is not a transaction. It is the natural consequence of a heart that has chosen to trust the provider over the provision. Third, it is an act of consecration. When you offer the first fruits, you are not just giving a portion, you are sanctifying the whole. In my law, when the first sheaf was offered, the entire harvest was considered holy and acceptable. By giving the first part to me, you are placing the entire remainder under my blessing and stewardship. You are saying, Lord, this entire paycheck, this entire project, this entire season of my life, I consecrate it to you. Use it for your purposes. This transforms the mundane into the sacred. Your work becomes worship. Your budget becomes a ministry. Your home becomes a sanctuary. Fourth, it is an act of thanksgiving and declaration. The first fruit offering is inherently a thank offering. It is done with a heart that remembers the seed was given, the rain was sent, the growth was granted. It is a proactive declaration of gratitude, not a reactive response to surplus. It says, I thank you for what I have right now, and I trust you for what is to come. This breaks the spirit of entitlement and cultivates a spirit of joyful gratitude. It keeps your heart soft and your eyes fixed on me, the giver of every good and perfect gift. My beloved, this principle applies far beyond finances. It is a way of life. Give me the first fruits of your day, the first quiet moments upon waking. This consecrates your time. Give me the first fruits of your creativity, the first idea, the best effort, offered as a work of worship. This sanctifies your talents. Give me the first fruits of your relationships, the first intention to love, to forgive, to serve. This invites my presence into your connections. Give me the first fruits of your attention, turning to me before turning to the noise of the world. This guards your peace. When you live by the first fruit principle, you step out of the realm of mundane calculation and into the realm of covenantal blessing. You are no longer a mere consumer of resources. You are a priest, offering up the fruits of the land to your king. And a king is honor-bound to care for those who serve in his house. Do not misunderstand. This is not a magic formula to manipulate me into giving you more. That would be witchcraft, not worship. This is about aligning your heart with the reality of my lordship. It is about breaking the power of greed and fear by the deliberate, worshipful act of letting go of the first and the best. I challenge you, my child. Where do you feel the pinch of fear? Where do you clutch something tightly thinking, this is mine, I need this, I earned this? That is the very place to practice the first fruit principle. Offer that thing, that time, that money, that dream, to me. Place it in my hands and say, you are my source. I trust you with this and with all that follows. Watch what happens. I do not promise that you will become wealthy by the world's standards, but I promise you will become rich in trust. You will become rich in peace. You will become rich in the joy of seeing my faithfulness unfold. The barns that overflow may be the barns of your heart, overflowing with gratitude, with generosity, with a profound sense of being cared for. The first fruit principle is the key that turns the cycle of giving and receiving from a theory into a lived, joyful reality. It is the practical step of faith that says, I believe in the economy of heaven more than the economy of earth, and I, your Father who sees in secret, will honor that faith. I will become your sure foundation, your overflowing portion, and your eternal reward. Start today. Offer me your first. Honor the source, and watch the cycle of blessing begin. My beloved child, come and sit with me in the quiet. Look down at your own two hands. See them? These instruments of holding, of grasping, of working, of clinging. Today I want to speak to you about the most profound spiritual posture you can learn. The posture of the open hand. It is the physical embodiment of a heart that has understood the cycle of my grace. For a hand that is tightly clenched around what it possesses can neither give freely nor receive anything new. But an open hand is an invitation to both release and receive. It is the sacred space where the cycle breathes. You have been taught in so many ways to clench your fists, to hold tightly to security, to relationships, to plans, to old wounds, to material things, to control. You believe that tightness equals safety, that possession equals security. But I tell you, that is an illusion. A clenched fist is the posture of fear. It is the posture of scarcity. It says, what I have is all there is, and I must protect it with all my strength. That constant clenching exhausts your soul. It cuts off circulation. It leaves your knuckles white and your spirit weary. But I call you to something different. I call you to the courage of the open palm. Think of it in the natural. If you want to give someone a gift, you must open your hand and release it. If you want to receive a gift, you must open your hand to take it. The same posture serves both purposes. This is the beautiful symmetry of my design. The act of releasing, giving, and the act of accepting, receiving, require the same surrender, the same vulnerability, the same trust. An open hand is a hand that is free, free to give generously because it is not owned by what it holds, and free to receive joyfully because it is not already full of other things. What are you clutching today, my child? Is it a grudge? That bitter stone you've polished in the dark pocket of your heart? Your fist is clenched around it, and the edges are cutting into your own soul. To open your hand and let it roll out is not to say the hurt didn't matter. It is to say, I trust you, God, with the justice and the healing. I release this weight to you. That open hand, now empty of the stone, is ready to receive my peace. Are you clutching control over a situation or a person? Your fingers are tired from trying to manipulate outcomes, to force solutions, to manage every detail. To open that hand is an act of terrifying faith. It is to say, not my will, but yours be done. And in that release, you create space for me to work in ways you could not imagine. Your open hand becomes a place where I can place my divine strategy, my unexpected solution. Are you clutching financial security? The bank statement, the plan, the safety net? To tithe, to give generously, feels like prying your own fingers open. But when you do it, when you open that hand and let the portion I ask for flow out, you are performing a powerful act of spiritual declaration. You are saying, my provider is not this currency, but the God who owns every resource. I trust you more than I trust this. That open hand is now positioned under the faucet of heaven's provision. You have made room for me to fill it. The principle is this: your capacity to receive is directly related to your willingness to release. A clenched fist has no capacity. It is already full, full of tension, full of fear, full of the one thing it refuses to let go. But an open hand, it has limitless potential. It is an empty vessel, a ready cup, a satellite dish tuned to the frequency of grace. This is why the cycle works. You give, you open your hand and release. This creates an empty space, a vacuum in the natural and spiritual realm. And nature and my spirit abhors a vacuum. Something must fill it. When you create that holy emptiness through obedient, trusting release, I rush in to fill it with more of myself, with my peace, with my provision, with new opportunities, with deeper joy. You have not lost. You have made room for upgrade. You have traded the seed for the harvest. You have exchanged the temporary for the eternal. Practice this, my beloved. Throughout your day, consciously unclench your heart's fists. When anxiety rises about the future, open your mental hand. Release the scenario to me. Whisper, I trust you with this. Feel the space that creates. When you feel offended, open the hand of your heart. Release the right to be right. Feel the space for reconciliation and peace that emerges. When you feel lack, open your physical hand in generosity, even if it's small. Give something away. Feel the space for faith and expectation that opens up within you. The open hand is the posture of prayer. It is the posture of worship. It is the posture of a child coming to a father. It says, I have nothing to offer but my need, and I am ready to receive your love. Do not be afraid of the emptiness that follows release. That emptiness is not abandonment. It is anticipation. It is the clean, swept room waiting for the guest of honor. It is the fertile soil after the plow. I cannot fill what is already crammed full of your own striving, your own solutions, your own hoarded treasures. So today, begin. Finger by finger, prayer by prayer, release by release. Open your hands. Open your hand of finances. Open your hand of relationships. Open your hand of your past. Open your hand of your dreams. Hold it all before me, palms up. Let go. Trust me. Watch as I take what you release and transform it. Watch as I place new things in your open palms. Things of my spirit, things of eternal value, things that satisfy the deep hunger that clinging could never touch. The cycle turns on the pivot of an open hand. It is the most vulnerable and the most powerful stance you will ever take. For when your hands are open, you are finally free. Free to receive the boundless gifts I have been longing to give you all along. My precious one, we have laid the foundation of principles, the economy, the heart, the law, the first fruits, the open hand. Now let us see these truths not as isolated ideas, but as interlocking gears in a magnificent living machine. Let us witness the cycle in motion. This is where understanding becomes lifestyle, where principle becomes breath, where you stop thinking about giving and receiving and start living within its current. For this cycle is not a cold spiritual transaction. It is a warm, relentless transformation. It changes you from the inside out, reshaping your identity, rewriting your instincts, and releasing you from the prison of fear. When you begin to live in this cycle, something profound shifts in your core understanding. You are no longer an owner. You become a steward. An owner says, "This is mine. I control it. I decide its fate." A steward says, "This is yours, Lord. You have entrusted it to me. How would you have me use it for your purposes?" This shift in identity is the most liberating truth you will ever embrace. The burden of possession evaporates. The anxiety of loss dissipates. You are free to manage with wisdom and distribute with generosity, because you know the true owner is infinitely wealthy and utterly faithful. Your role is not to hoard, but to channel. This transformed identity then rewires your instincts. The instinct of scarcity, to cling, to compare, to fear, is slowly replaced by the instinct of abundance, to share, to celebrate others, to trust. It happens gradually. At first, you must consciously choose to give when every fiber of your old nature screams to hold back. But as you obey, as you see my faithfulness in the aftermath, a new neural pathway of faith is carved. Soon, generosity becomes your first thought, not your last resort. Joyful giving becomes a reflex, not a calculation. You begin to look for opportunities to be a conduit, because it feels more like your true self than clinging ever did. This is how the cycle breaks the power of fear and lack. Fear cannot survive in an atmosphere of continual gratitude and trust. When you are actively looking for ways to give, you are by default acknowledging that you have something to give. You are confessing abundance, not lack. When you give in faith, you are striking a blow against the spirit of poverty that whispers, "There will never be enough." Each act of giving is a declaration of war on that lie, and as you keep declaring it, the lie loses its voice in your life. The cycle becomes a flywheel of faith, gaining momentum. The more you give, the more you trust. The more you trust, the less you fear. The less you fear, the more freely you give. But understand, my child, the cycle is not a perfect mechanical circle where you put in a coin and get a candy every time. It is a spiral ascending into trust. Sometimes the return comes swiftly and in the form you expect. Often it comes slowly or in a completely different currency, a deepened relationship, a miraculous peace, a protected child, a closed door that saves you from disaster. The return is not always a replica of what you gave. It is the manifestation of my faithfulness in keeping the entire system of your life in balance and moving you toward your destiny. I am not settling a debt. I am nurturing a child and building a kingdom. This is why you must never view the cycle as a give-to-get scheme. That mentality keeps you in the realm of transaction, staring at your own hands. The transformation occurs when your focus shifts from your gift to my goodness, from your loss to my faithfulness. You give because I am good. You trust because I am faithful. The return is simply the evidence that I am who I say I am. The joy is in the partnership, not the profit. So, how do you keep the cycle in healthy motion? You tend to the three key relationships within it. 1. Your upward relationship with me, worship. This is the intake valve. You stay connected to the source through prayer, worship, and my word. You fill your heart with reminders of my nature, that I am a giver. You receive my love until it overflows. This is not passive. It is the active drinking that makes the outflow possible. 2. Your inward relationship with yourself, stewardship. This is the processing chamber. You manage your resources, time, talent, treasure, emotion, with wisdom and integrity. You check your motives. You repent of greed and fear. You cultivate gratitude. You make conscious decisions to align your spending, your schedule, and your energy with kingdom priorities. 3. Your outward relationship with others, generosity. This is the outflow pipe. You look for divine appointments to bless, encourage, and give. You see people as souls to be loved, not accounts to be balanced. You give without strings, without expectation of earthly return, because you know the books are kept in heaven. When these 3 relationships are healthy, the cycle spins effortlessly. You are like a lamp filled with oil, worship, with a clean wick, stewardship, shining light freely into the darkness, generosity. And as you shine, I ensure the oil never runs out. My beloved, step into the flow today. Don't just give an occasional gift. Adopt a lifestyle of cyclical grace. Make your life a loop where blessings flow in, are enjoyed with gratitude, are shared with joy, and create space for more to flow in. Break the linear worldly mindset of accumulate and consume. You are not in a desert, rationing your last canteen. You are in a river, and the water is flowing through you. Your job is not to dam it up, but to let it flow, to direct it to the dry places and to drink deeply as it passes. This is the transformed life. This is the victorious life. This is your life in me. The cycle is not around you. It is within you. Let it move. Let it transform you. And watch as I transform the world through you. My beloved child, we have journeyed to the summit of understanding. From the principles of heaven's economy to the transformation of your very identity, we now arrive at the destination for it all, a life of perpetual flow. This is not a peak you visit on occasion. It is the very atmosphere I created you to breathe. It is the state of being where giving and receiving cease to be separate acts you perform, and instead become the continuous, joyful rhythm of your existence, like the heartbeat of your spirit. This is the call to become more than a periodic giver. It is the call to become a permanent conduit of my blessing. A conduit is not the source. It does not create the water. It carries it. It is defined not by what it holds, but by what passes through it. Its purpose is connection and delivery. Its health is measured by its lack of obstruction. Its joy is in the unimpeded flow. This, my precious one, is your highest calling. To be so aligned, so clean, so surrendered, and so connected to me, the source, that my life, love, and resources flow through you as naturally as your own breath. You become a living riverbed for my grace. When you live as a conduit, you exit the exhausting paradigm of not enough. You are no longer an isolated reservoir, anxiously measuring your water level, fearing evaporation, and hoarding every drop. You are a channel connected to an endless spring. Your focus shifts from the stressful maintenance of your own supply to the joyful stewardship of heaven's supply to a thirsty world. Your prayer changes from, Lord, fill me up, to Lord, flow through me. You understand that being filled is not an end in itself. It is for the purpose of overflow. This perpetual flow is marked by 3 profound freedoms. First, freedom from the tyranny of calculation. The conduit does not stop the flow to measure how much has passed through. It does not keep a ledger of gallons given versus gallons received. When you are living in the flow, you release the need to audit every spiritual transaction. You give because it's your nature to give, as a branch's nature is to bear fruit. You trust me, the vine dresser, with the entire process of growth, sap, blossom, and harvest. You are free to be extravagantly generous because you know the supply is not your responsibility. Your alignment is. The arithmetic of heaven is my department. Your department is obedience and joy. Second, freedom from the fear of depletion. A reservoir can run dry. A conduit connected to a spring cannot. Your fear says, if I keep giving, I will have nothing left for myself. But the promise of the conduit is, as you give, it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. The into your lap imagery is key. It is an active, continuous replenishment as you are actively giving. You are not meant to be filled once and then slowly drain until the next filling. You are meant to be a point in an infinite circuit where the giving is the receiving, for in the very act of channeling blessing, you are positioned directly in the current of it. You cannot outgive the spring. Third, freedom for spontaneous, spirit-led generosity. A conduit does not decide when to flow. It flows because the source is flowing. When you are abiding in me, you become sensitive to the gentle pressure of my spirit directing the flow. You feel the nudge to call that person, to give that amount, to speak that word, to forgive that offense. It is no longer a burdensome ought to, but a natural get to. You become a responsive instrument. Your life becomes a series of divine appointments where you are the delivery person for a grace that was precisely timed and crafted for someone else. This is the most thrilling way to live, as a constant participant in my unseen kingdom work. Becoming this conduit is the culmination of all we've discussed. It is trusting the divine economy enough to let go, purifying the heart of the giver until love is the only motive, understanding the law of sowing and reaping so deeply that you sow in every season with confidence, honoring the source with your first and best, establishing the rhythm of priority, maintaining the open hand so nothing clogs the channel, living the transformative cycle until it becomes your second nature. It is abiding. It is remaining in me. As you do, my words will remain in you, and you will ask what you desire, and it shall be done for you. Your desires will align with the flow, and your prayers will become the very signals that open the gates of blessing for others. This is the life that bears much fruit. Not occasional fruit, but much fruit. Fruit that remains. Your impact will transcend your physical presence, your financial capacity, or your natural abilities. It will be supernatural, because it will be my life flowing through your surrendered one. So, my beloved conduit, how do you step into this perpetual flow today? You make the choice right now to redefine success. Success is no longer a full storehouse, but a clear channel. It is not what you accumulate, but what you distribute. It is the joy of seeing my love reach its target through you. Then, you practice the prayer of the conduit. Father, not my will, but yours be done with my time, my talent, my treasure, and my heart. Connect me so deeply to you today that I feel the current of your compassion. Let me be a blessing. Let me be a bridge. Let me be a pipe. Flow through me to the weary, the lost, the broken, and the joyful alike. I am yours. Use me. This is your eternal purpose, to be a dwelling place for my spirit and a delivery system for my grace. You are the conduit. I am the river of life. Let us flow together forever. The cycle is now complete, and yet it is just beginning. For you are no longer just in the cycle. You have become it. A living, breathing, giving, receiving, perpetual flow of my blessing to the world. Go in this peace. Go in this power. Go in this endless, joyful flow. Amen.